There's this cafeteria I go to every once in a while that has very average, reasonably priced food. You know, the usual cafeteria stuff. Burgers, fries, a salad bar. But the desserts. Let me tell you, the desserts are the most perfect-looking desserts you've ever seen. A perfectly sliced cake, a spin of frosting on top, and it looks like the cherry was placed by an angel. You'd look at these and go, wow, that has got to be the most delicious dessert in the world. And you'd be completely, incredibly, unequivocally wrong. They're terrible. They're always dry or sugar-free or terrible in some way or another. And yet, every time I go there, I take another. And every time, it's just as bad as the last. All right, Roz, they gave you 10 minutes to talk about whatever you want, and you're up here blabbing on about food. What's new? But what the fudge cake does this have to do with misinformation? Well, let's think of it like this. The cake is like my clickbait. It draws me in, even though I know there's a 90% chance it's too good to be true. It just looks so good. We're all fooled by clickbait, and really, it's designed to do that. It's designed to grab your attention and make you feel something. So if the cake is my clickbait, then research is the untouched salad bar. Most of the time, it's not that much fun to read. I mean, no one here wants to read the synthesis and functional evaluation of a mitochondria-targeted hydrogen sulfide donor 10-oxo-10,4,3-thioxo-3-H1,2-diethyl-5-phenoxydiesel triphenylphosphonium bromide AP39 from the Journal of Medicinal Chemistry Communications. And I don't even know what that means. But what about this? A stinky compound may protect against cell damage, study finds. Or silent, not deadly, how farts cure diseases. And it says right there, a recent study from the University of Exeter has been reported as showing that smelling farts can cure cancer as well as many other diseases. Okay, that seems a little unbelievable. To their credit, the next sentence does say that the study doesn't say this at any point. The study itself looked at the impact of hydrogen sulfide gas on cell mitochondria. That's it. No human trials, no cancer. Not even farting. It was just a direction for future research. And this research is everywhere. The secret to winning a Nobel Prize? Simply eat more chocolate. Eat more than 6 French fries and risk your life, expert says. And new study finds that people who eat cheese live longer. Now that sounds pretty good for Wisconsin. This exaggerated research is everywhere. But what about news and fake news? We're surrounded by stories that may or may not be true. And with the advent of social media, these stories spread at unprecedented rates. A 2018 study by Sarosh Vasoy, Deb Roy, and Sinan Arl looked at the spread of true and false news on Twitter by taking 126,000 fact-checked news stories, some being true and some being false, and looking at the amount of retweets each one had. What they found was that false news spread wider and faster than true news. False news was 6 times faster to reach 1,500 people than true news. And while the truth was rarely retweeted by 1,000 people, the top 1% of false news was retweeted between 1,000 to 100,000 times. And perhaps the craziest thing about this is that it didn't matter how many people the spreader followed, nor how many followed them, nor verification, nor length of time they'd been on Twitter. In fact, those who spread false news had been a Twitter user for significantly less time, had fewer followers, followed less people, and were less active on Twitter. False news was 70% more likely to be spread regardless of age, activity level, number of followers, followees, or verification. And I know what you may be thinking. What about the bots? What about the fake accounts and the reason that we have to check here so we know you're not a robot? Well, the researchers took this into account and removed them before analysis. But even when they added them back in, the results remained the same. False news spread faster and more broadly than true news. So why does this happen? According to Vasoy, Roy, and Arl, a huge part of this is the novelty factor. We like novelty. That's why it's called news and not olds. Novelty grabs our attention, helps us make decisions, and encourages us to share. So take a wild guess as to which news is more novel, true or false news? If you're thinking false, you'd be correct. The researchers found that false news contains more novel information than true news. Jonah Berger, a marketing professor at the Wharton Business School, suggests 6 factors that contribute to the spread of news. 1, social currency. We like to be in the know and have that insider information. 2, triggers, top of mind, tip of tongue. 3, emotions. When we care, we share. 4, public. If it's built to show, it's built to grow. 5, practical value. It's news we can use. And 6, stories. Information travels under the guise of idle chatter. And while all of this can happen in a true news story, the researchers found that false news contains more unique information and more emotion-provoking information than true news. So here's a graph to show you how that goes. We start with a news story. It's new. It grabs your attention and it strikes a strong emotion within you. You feel the need to share its practical value. Suddenly, it's public, building on itself more triggers as more people see it. It becomes a form of social currency, as no one likes to be left out of this information, building on itself more emotions as people with conflicting values discuss the story, becoming more public, creating more triggers. Round and round it goes. It's an epidemic. But there can be a cure. Analyzing the news is a lot like buying a used car. It can be easier and cheaper than reading the original research article, but it should include a bit of critical examination. Lucky for you, I came up with a couple of tips to help you avoid falling into the trap of false news. Think 1 click, 2 clicks. In 1 click, you can simply open the article and get a little bit more information. But here's a little known fact. In about 2 clicks, you can usually find the original research article. So if you're more of a 1-click hit kind of person or you don't have a lot of time, try these things. 1, read past the headline. It's there to grab your attention and strike an emotion within you. 2, be wary of strong phrases such as, it is well established that, or scientists have concluded. Now here's a hint. Scientists have rarely, if ever, concluded anything in the history of science. Thank you, scientists. And that's why they still do research. And 3, ask yourself if it seems believable. If it doesn't, it's probably not true. Now, if you've got time or a desire to learn more, I encourage you to try the 2-click method. Find the summary of the research in that article. Is there more than one study mentioned? Is there a replication? A news article tends to have more standing if more than one research article is mentioned and it has the same findings. But you may want to find if they have a balanced or contradictory article. If they do, this shows that the author really put in their work and found research from differing perspectives. And finally, find the original research article. This is usually linked somewhere in that news piece. Look at their methods section. Who did they study? Was it humans or animals? How big was it? What was the age, the gender? I'd like to leave you with these things. And the next time you see something that seems too good to be true, too terrible to be real, or strikes a strong emotion within you, that you may take a step back and wonder, how real is this? Maybe it's time that we start looking at that cake and thinking twice before we grab it. While we all like to be the source of new information, let's start looking for the truth in these stories. Thank you.